Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Coach Prime, the Colorado Buffaloes continue to stay aggressive in the transfer portal, landing another commitment from former Arkansas defensive lineman Torian Carter, 6'3", 305 pounds. These are the kind of bodies that I think Coach Prime looked at this roster in 2023 and said, we need to add more of these kind of guys. And I think you look at the overarching goal of the transfer portal and say, the goal of the transfer portal is to add to position groups that you need to immediately improve on heading into next season. And I think along the line of scrimmage, Coach Prime identified that as a spot they need to close the gap with. And they've done a really, really nice job addressing it. And a lot of the conversation we've had is on the offensive line. And although they've done a phenomenal job revamping this offensive line, bringing in depth, bringing in talent and experience, they've also done a really good job addressing that defensive line as well. I want to talk about Torian Carter and also have a conversation regarding what this Colorado defensive line is going to look like in 2024. Before we get into it, just want to say thank you to you guys and a special shout out to the Colorado fans. This has been a program that we continue to update in the transfer portal. You guys have shown a ton of support. This is something I love doing, love evaluating these guys. The amount of support you guys have shown, it means a lot. If you guys do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we will continue to keep you guys as updated as possible with what Coach Prime and this Colorado program are doing in the transfer portal. And without further ado, I want to get into a guy like Torian Carter. And I think the main talking point with a guy like Torian Carter is he's not going to come in to this Colorado program and be a guy that is going to have 12 and a half tackles for loss and 10 plus sacks. That's not really his game. But what I think he brings to this Colorado defense, and this is a conversation we've had with a multitude of programs in the transfer portals, he's going to make people around him better, right? When you look at Colorado on the defensive line, it seemed like they got moved around a little bit. And not only is that not good for the defensive line, but it's not good for the linebackers either, right? When you're getting blown off the ball and offensive linemen are consistently working up to the second level, it's hard for those linebackers to play at a high level. A guy like Torian Carter at 6'3", 305 pounds, and you watch some of the games that he had at Arkansas, he's really good at the point of attack, right? He wins off the line of scrimmage. He keeps pad levels low because he's not the biggest guy, and he kind of can take on double teams. And so although maybe not a guy that is going to himself be a guy that's having 10 plus sacks and 10 plus tackles for loss, I think he's going to raise the level of this defense as a whole and let those linebackers play a little bit more downhill and let some of the other defensive linemen make some football plays as well. And that's a really important aspect of a defense, right? You have to have these kind of guys, excuse me, that are going to allow for the other players on the defensive side of the football to thrive. And I think Torian Carter is the perfect example. You look at his time at Arkansas, started the first 4 games for Arkansas, has played over 261 snaps, was a key rotational piece in this Arkansas defense that was really good at getting after the quarterback. So you're getting a guy that is a proven commodity at the SEC level, and now coming over to Colorado and not only going to add a talented player that's going to be a difference maker on that inside of the defensive line, but more depth. And this is a problem with Colorado. And one of the bigger talking points that we had with Colorado heading into the 2023 season, Coach Prime's first season, was, all right, they got some guys. What does the depth look like along the line of scrimmage, both the offense and defensive line? And it wasn't quite there. And I think Coach Prime's looking at this roster and saying, we need to address this depth. We need to have big bodies that we can rotate throughout 4 quarters, 12 games. I think Torian Carter is just another rotational piece in this Colorado defensive line that is getting revamped. And you look at Colorado, where they struggled on defense, they gave up 4.7 yards per carry. That was 95th in the country. They gave up over 175 rushing yards per game. That was 105th in the country. Coach Prime looked at this defense and said, we need to get better at the point of attack along the line of scrimmage. A guy like Torian Carter certainly going to help. In a very similar conversation, Torian Carter, his average depth of tackle, 1.8 yards down the field against the run. So what does that tell you? It means that he's making his plays at or behind the line of scrimmage. He's not getting moved off the balls. He's stacking blocks, shedding blocks, and making plays. And that's another thing that you look for on your defensive line is, where are those guys making an impact in the game? Are they making the plays 4 to 5 yards down the field, meaning they're getting pushed off the line of scrimmage? Are they making their plays at the line of scrimmage, winning on first and second down, setting up those third and longs. And Torian Carter is a guy that is going to help you win on first and second down and get into those third and longs where you can be aggressive with your defense. And another conversation that we've had was the quality of player that's coming into Colorado. I think last year during this time, there were a lot of takes for Colorado as they needed to just revamp this roster that weren't necessarily proven commodities at the Power 5 level. You look at what Colorado is taking this year, not only on the defensive line, but largely as a whole in this transfer portal class. It's guys that have played a lot of football at the Power 5 level. And a guy like Torian Carter, who started 4+ games for Arkansas in 2023, played over 250 snaps for a guy in the defensive line, was a piece in this Arkansas defense that played a lot. So again, a proven commodity at the SEC level that's now coming over to Colorado. And you look at this Colorado class in 2024, they're continuing to do a really impressive job. And I want to focus in on this defensive line, right? You go and get a guy like Samuel Okunlola, who was sought after by multiple Power 5 programs, who's a heavy-handed edge defender that's going to allow you to win up front. Another guy in Chidozie Nwankwo, who was an all Big 12 performer for Houston last year. Another guy that is proven at the Power 5 level. And then you go out and get some guys that have really high upsides, right? Anquan Barnes coming from Alabama, and a guy like Quincy Wiggins, who we talked about, is still has a lot of growth to be had. But a guy from a potential standpoint could be an absolute monster for Colorado at some point down the line. He started at LSU, didn't play a ton, was still learning the sport. But one thing you can't really deny is the physical traits that a guy like Quincy Wiggins had. So you look at what they're bringing in, another guy in Keaton Wade, a proven SEC commodity coming over from Kentucky. You're really excited about the kind of player that Colorado is bringing in. A lot of these guys have played significant reps and snaps at the Power 5 level, and now they're coming to Colorado and continuing to add to the talent and depth along the line of scrimmage. I'm a really big fan of what Colorado has done in the transfer portal, and I think going into year 2, Coach Prime had that ability to look at his roster, have a full 12 months of spring practice, a fall season, and then had a better sense of, all right, what does our roster look like? And then what do we need to add to kind of take that next step? And I think you're going to see this program continue to build and continue to take that next step. And again, if Colorado starts winning even more games in 2024, like this it's kind of like the snowball, and it's getting some momentum. And you clearly see Colorado gaining some momentum. You saw it in the 2024 class on the recruiting trail with guys like Draylon Miller and Jordan Seaton, and you're certainly seeing it in the transfer portal as guys who had multiple Power 5 offers look at this Colorado program and say, yeah, we saw them have some momentum in 2023, build, and I think we can be another building block piece in the 2024 year. Really excited about what they are doing. Again, appreciate all the support you guys have shown the boys. If you guys do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We'll be back as Colorado continues to make moves in the portal. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later.